All right, this is Intro to TWR, Session 5. This is the session is going to be entitled Serving in Positions of Ministry. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to get started. Can someone pass these notes out? So, Father, we thank you, Lord, that we get to pray your word back to your heart. We thank you for how it's a life source to our hearts. God, I just pray, God, that through this session, God, we would just grab hold of what we need to grab hold of, Lord, that you just release the spirit of wisdom and revelation. In your name I pray. Amen. Okay, so we've known a certain way of, we've gotten used to the regular flow and rhythm of our prayer meetings, okay? This session's going to begin to shake some of that up, okay? Because, again, this has everything in mind to do with going to 7 days a week. And so, and it also has the idea of, actually, that's the last session. Okay, let me rephrase. So we're redefining what our roles are here, okay? So what is a prayer leader? What is a chorus leader? What is a worship leader? What does this person do? What are they supposed to do during the hour to keep the prayer meeting going? So I'm just going to start hitting these. So Roman numeral number 1, areas of ministry that you can serve in, okay? So we have a worship leader. You can be a worship leader. You can be a prayer leader. You can be a singer. You can be a musician. You can be an intercessor. By the way, intercessor is, again, you can just come and say, I sit in the room, I pray, and I pray on the microphone, and then you can either do that or you can just sit in the room. All right. We have need for people to do projection for us, as well as be a sound tech. And then we've got this category here called doorkeeper. I'll explain that. Okay, it's not weird. It literally is something that we need. But I get it from the Psalms where it says, I'd rather be a doorkeeper in his house, and I'll explain that in a couple minutes. So it's not some dorky thing that John decided to label. I just can't figure a better term for it. If someone can help me, please do. We'll talk about it, and you can tell me what you're thinking. Okay? All right. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to take this session and start defining all the things that these positions should be. What is expected of that person serving in that position. So number 1, worship leader, okay? Is a worship leader someone who can lead worship from an instrument, most commonly keys or guitar. That's going to be mostly what we lead worship from. Each worship leader should learn to follow the harp and bowl model to the best of their ability. So that's why we talked about this last few sessions. So we have a little bit of language and lingo on how that works. All right, the worship leader's job is to lead the room. They have the overall authority for the direction of the prayer meeting. However, the worship leader also needs to work together with their team and the prayer leader to cultivate team ministry. So there's that value again, okay? All right. Here's what worship leaders. So worship leaders in the room, pay attention to this. You're responsible for the following, okay? So number 1, before each set, lead a quick meeting, which we call briefing and debriefing. Debriefing's at the end, briefing's at the beginning. To instruct your team with details before the prayer meeting starts. And afterwards, provide encouragement and feedback. This is a really important thing to do as a worship leader. It builds confidence with those you're serving with, and it helps address any confusions and misunderstandings that may have occurred during the prayer meeting, okay? During every one of these sessions today, someone's come up and mentioned, hey, this was a little confusing, or I didn't quite get that, or this. And so it lets me know that, that's something I need to be more clear with that, okay? So that's why we do briefing and debriefing. Now, you won't be able to do it every time, depending on if you've got 2 sets in a row, or just the way the timing works. If you're serving on the next one, you might not be able to do it. But to the best of your ability, worship leaders, do a briefing and debriefing and talk to your team, okay? You're a leader. Lead them, talk to them, Tell them things that are good. Tell them things that are hard. Okay, that's what a leader does. Number 2, worship leaders, you need to plan your songs so that you can share them with your team. Okay, we utilize OnSong, which is an app that will allow you to plan your songs and share it with other OnSong users. We have a couple of iPads that have that app on them, and they can be used during the prayer meeting. So all the worship leaders here know that. I'm just saying it out loud. Number 3, when leading worship with multiple instruments or singers, this is something new that we haven't enforced, but we're going to. We ask that the worship leader would use the click machine for keeping time, okay? There's a little box up here that puts a click in our ears that keeps us on time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, it keeps everyone singing, keeps all the instruments together. So if you're on a set with multiple instruments and singers, we want you to use that click track. All right, this is all part of growing and cultivating skill before the Lord. So it kind of goes back to the vision of ministering to Him, and we want skill and we want to do it together. If you're not able to play to a click, it doesn't mean that you can't lead worship. We simply ask that you would commit to learning how. You can also designate someone on your team. And again, our teams are usually 2 or 3s, but you can designate on your team who knows how to run it and have them run it for you. Okay, you don't have to be the one that commands it. You can have someone else do it, but we want you to do it. And so if you're a worship leader and you're kind of struggling with that, we just want you to keep going with it, okay? Because eventually it's going to stick, all right? And hopefully eventually it ticks you off. So, ha 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 ha, very funny. Got to throw in something here. I'm losing the crowd quick. All right. The next thing we want worship leaders to know is to know how to use the Nashville number system. Okay, this is a musical thing, okay? This system helps lead times of creative music and flow spontaneously into different dynamics. If you notice, when we came out of stage 1 into stage 2, Sadie changed the chord progression, and she would be instructing her team with numbers of what chords she's playing, and the other musicians need to learn how to do that. But worship leaders, you need to reach for it. Again, you can't. We're not going to say you can't lead worship, but we want you to reach for it and really, really take the next step in being able to do that. Okay, next page. Moving right along. Okay, so that's the worship leader. Prayer leader. Okay, we're going to define this position. So as you can see with the worship leader, we had a couple of new things that we haven't really done before, or we need to go back to, or things we've gotten away from, okay? So we want you to do those things, okay? Go back and read these notes, and when you design your sets, make sure you're like, okay, did I do all this stuff? All right, cool. And then for the next year or so, I'm going to be on these things, okay? Because it's me as a leader going, hey, let's grow. It's not me going, you're bad, you need to get better, I can't stand what you do. It's me going, hey, you are a musician, prayer, whatever. You are this in the house of prayer, and I value so much that I'm going to help you get really efficient at what you do, just like someone helped me get really efficient at what I do, okay? All right, so prayer leader. There's someone who leads prayer for intercession, developing a biblical passage with, There's someone who leads prayer for intercession. They develop a biblical passage with worship with the word and optional prayer during each prayer meeting. Okay, so remember, developing a biblical passage is stage 3. Okay, and that's where we have the prayer leader serving. So for intercession, they're leading the prayer. For worship with the word, they're helping to isolate the verses. We didn't get to do an example of that, but we'll, if you become prayer leader, we'll train you. All right. The prayer leader is also, this is something new, is also going to be the main staff person in charge of serving the room during the prayer meeting, okay? They are to help with things like sound, changing the slides, greeting people, and anything else that is needed, okay? Because here's what most likely is going to happen. When we do our 7 days and we break down people and what days they're serving, what we need the most is at least a worship leader and a prayer leader. Those two people will be the significant force of the prayer room. The worship leader is doing all the stuff we just talked about, so they don't have time to do all the other stuff. The prayer leader is the one that's mobile and can go to the sound booth, can quickly change a slide, and if they're not praying on the microphone and someone new walks in the room, you can go greet them. Okay? So here's what they're responsible for. Again, they're on the team, so they need to number one, attend briefing and debriefing. If the prayer leader is leading an intercession prayer set, they should share with the worship team prior to the meeting in the briefing the prayer topic, okay? So if you're leading the Israel set, hey, I'm going to be praying for Israel. Here's the verses that I'm planning on praying from. So it kind of gives the singers a heads up before you even got up there. They're like, okay, he's going to this verse, all right? Number two, if the prayer leader is leading a worship with the word set, they will need to plan their passage a week ahead of time. We're already doing this, okay? So I'm sending out an email to the prayer leaders for worship with the words. They're sending me back the 2 or 3 verses that they want to do, okay? We have a Google form that we use for this. I won't go into that, but so as an added measure to this, I want to encourage us to use this scripture meditation form right here, okay? We have some on the back table. I can print out some more, but prayer leaders, use this to develop your passage. This will actually help you come more prepared. If you do this throughout the week, you pick a verse, then you write your verse, you say it, you sing it, you pray it. We want to really encourage you guys to do that, so when you come up, you've got language, kind of like what happened last night. I don't know if you wrote Rich Mercy or whatever, but that phrase just changed everything.
I wrote some things out.
Okay, right. So this will help you really get some good thoughts, okay? And again, if you've never done this before, it takes some time, but we would train you on what to do. It would just start with step 1, turn this in. Step 2, hey, do this. But I'm just kind of giving you what a prayer leader would do. During all devotional and worship with the word sets, this is something that we're implementing that's new. The last 15 minutes of a devotional set and a worship with the word set, the prayer leader we're going to have a time of optional prayer. So most likely we're going to call a time of rapid fire prayer. It's kind of like it's a much easier version of what we did, right, Joe? Because you did rapid fire prayer the other night, and you liked that because it was just an invitation. Hey, if you got a 3 to 5 second prayer for this particular topic, come up here, line up here, and we just boom, 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 boom. We just pray for that. So every devotional worship word set, we're going to now have at the last 15 minutes of the prayer meeting, have optional prayer. And there's some other options. We'll hit that in our last session today. During every prayer meeting, the prayer leader needs to be attentive to, again, sound needs or the worship leader, okay? Sometimes the worship leader's kind of stuck there. It's like, I need something. My sound just went out, or I don't know, whatever it is. Whatever they need, you want to be attentive to them. This simply means just pay attention to what's happening on stage, as well as keep an ear out for anything that sounds too quiet or too loud. With limited staff, most sets don't have a sound tech, okay? I think only like 3 of our sets, we actually have someone doing sound. So that means we want the prayer leader to be trained to do this, okay? It's not hard. You just put a little lever up or a little lever down, you press a little button, and it's real easy. There's several of you that have learned to just adjust a couple of things on the board. I'm not looking for a state-of-the-art, EQ. I'm just looking for hey, can we turn that up or turn that down or unmute this? And so they'll be attentive to that. The prayer leader can play a vital role in helping adjust any sound issues. All prayer leaders will be trained on how to do this. So don't worry about that. We're just going to teach you how to do it if you want to be a prayer leader. Number 5, prayer leaders are also responsible for policing any conversations that are more than 30 seconds long. Because the room is really small and conversations can be really distracting to either those sitting in the room or those leading worship, we want to keep all conversations to like 30 seconds or less. And if you want to talk more, I give you the green light. Just go in the back office and have your conversation. We want people to fellowship. We want people to connect with one another and have a, hey, how are you doing? How's so-and-so, whatever. Yes, do that, but do it in the office because, again, it can just be distracting in the room. So prayer leaders, if you see conversations that are like happening for 2 or 3 minutes, just go over and say, hey, guys, could you guys take your conversation in the back? It's no big deal. We just want to keep the room and again, sacred. Prayer is sacred. We want to cultivate atmosphere and presence of the Lord in the room. And I just think sometimes conversations just out in the middle are distracting. So have them in the office. That's the place to do it. Okay? Number 6, you never know when the prayer room will have people visiting for the first time. As a leader, as a prayer leader, it's your responsibility to greet visitors and make them feel welcome. All right, this is a crucial part of strengthening prayer at the worship room. We want people to have a positive experience where they feel cared for and served in the house of prayer. Anyone that you've not seen, so let's say you're in here, you're a prayer leader, person comes in, I've never seen this person before. Just go ahead and assume that they're a first-time person, and you want to go up and introduce yourself to them. You want to ask them their name. And then the other thing you want to try and do is we have a connection card back there. You want to try and get them to fill that out. Our goal is to get their email address because now we're going to be letting them know about what's going on. And now some people might say, "Oh, that seems a little like intrusive and invasive." But the thing is they came in here, and that could be your next worship leader. That could be your next prayer leader. That could be the next person that gets touched by his presence. And we want to let them know we're so grateful that they're here, and we want to let them know what's happening. Don't view it as a negative thing. View it as a positive thing. As they're the next person that could take that next hour. That John could do that next set of prayer meetings. And just kind of just greet them and make them feel welcomed. Okay, that's prayer leader. An intercessor. So we've been saying intercessor a lot, okay? There's someone who prays and strengthens the room with prayer, either by sitting in the room and agreeing with what's being sung and prayed on the microphone or praying biblical prayers during times of intercession on the microphone. So we just did that whole set. That's what an intercessor is going to mostly focus on. All intercessors are encouraged to pray on the microphone as much as possible. So if you say, hey, I'm going to serve as an intercessor, we really, really could use you praying on the microphone. In fact, that's kind of your job. So that's what you would do to serve. Intercessors are responsible for the following. Number 1, maintaining the worship room prayer etiquette. It's posted on the back. I think it's also in one of these sessions somewhere. It just talks about just being respectful of people's spaces and what you're allowed to do. You can walk and pace, but you can go read that on your own. I don't have time to go into that. And then number 2, adhering to the guidelines for praying on the microphone, which we just all got trained on. That's what an intercessor does. Singer. Okay, a singer is someone who serves on the worship team and has the ability to sing songs, antiphonalize, sing spontaneous choruses, and sing passages in the Bible during the prayer meeting. So if you notice, Angela and Liz, and of course Sadie, she was the worship leader, but the two singers, they did an excellent job. They could sing. They sang the word. They could do these couple little functions. It doesn't take much to be able to do that. I'm sure they're going, oh man, this is on the spot. But you guys did great. You did great. Tells me I'm a good, well, not good, but decent teacher, because they learned this under me a couple years ago. Okay, so they're responsible for, again, attending briefing and debriefing. Following, number 2, following the worship leader's direction during the prayer meeting. So each worship leader is different in their style, so they may have different styles and preferences. So singers, just be flexible and work with your worship leader. They may want you to do a couple of different things. You want to pay attention to them. You want to follow them. There's some worship leaders that you'll be like, oh yeah, I love flowing, and there'll be some worship leaders like, well, I wish we could have done this, but I understand, and just move on. Number 3, work together with everyone. Remember, this is team ministry. These are the values. The values are shaping these definitions. So singers, try and blend in with what others are singing. So if you've got 2 singers, try and listen to each other, okay, so that we're not like ahead of each other with phrases and words. And I'm the chief of sinners by the way. I get ahead or get behind, or I don't get the phrase just right. But anyways, be aware of your pitch and your tone. If there's a part of a song that's too high, or you can't seem to hit a certain note, try not to sing those parts and let others sing it instead. Be aware that not all singers should sing every part of each worship song. Try and think like a composer. Be tasteful when you sing. Most verses on a worship song should only have one person singing them, unless there's a singer who's like really good with harmony. Choruses and bridges in a song are a great place to have lots of singers with melody. So remember, singing is team ministry. So all that to say, verses, you want to let your worship leader most likely take that. Choruses and bridges is probably where you want to come in. And then anything in between that the worship leader will direct, you can follow him. Okay. 4, sing to a click. Just about every prayer meeting, the worship team uses a click. So learn to sing to a click, because sometimes we're just so used to just singing, and with the click, it just helps your vocals not drag. Okay, these are just some technical things I'm doing for singers. Number 6, learn how to serve as a chorus leader. Okay, so a chorus leader is singer number 1. The first chair right there is singer number 1. Most prayer meetings will only have, if any, one singer. This is important. It's important that singers know how to chorus lead. Okay, the chorus leader is the main singer on the worship team. It's their job to come up with spontaneous choruses as much as possible. There'll be plenty of times when other singers or the worship leader sings a spontaneous chorus, but mostly we want the chorus leader to be able to do this job. That was number 5? I didn't do number 5. Thank you. I'll go back to it in a second. So the chorus leader, the singer 1, we want them to be the most responsible for singing choruses. It'll really help out the worship leader, so they don't have to carry the load of every single time coming up with a spontaneous chorus. So worship leaders, vice versa, use your chorus leader. Now, if you don't think they can handle it, you make a call. Okay, that's fine. But as a leader, because you're a worship leader, try and get them to do it. Try and get them into the habit of you're gonna do it. And if they're not doing it, then you can jump back in. And again, team ministry. Use each other. Okay. Number 5. Thank you, Liz. This is a new thing I really want to try and encourage people to do. Try and have a Bible and something to write with and write on on stage with you. This will help singers be able to reference things as well as write down choruses or phrases to sing when it's time. Okay, Patrick, one of our singers who was here earlier, he's notorious for this, except he does it on his phone. He writes it on his phone. He literally like spontaneous choruses that we had over a year and a half ago that came out. He wrote them down and he brings them back, like even now, without even thinking. Either he's pulling it up on his phone and I don't see it, or he remembers them. But he is like phenomenal in this area. And so it's just a way that we can learn to take the word, mine the word, and help us bring out those choruses that were so anointed. Okay. Yes. Yes. Number 7. Understand the order to deferring to one another. Okay, throughout the prayer meeting, there'll be moments when singers try to antiphonalize or sing at the same time. If you noticed, when the 2 singers were singing today, they took turns, but they've been doing it long enough where they can kind of sense when someone's going to sing something, so they learn to like work together. But if both of them were to say something at the same time, they need to know which one should stop and which one should finish. So we don't have like 2 people shouting into a microphone or trying to sing something. So this is the order in which it works. Okay, so singer number 2, the second chair over there, they're going to defer to the chorus leader. So if they were both to antiphonalize or begin singing, singer number 2 is going to be quiet, and the chorus leader is going to take over because, again, team ministry, you're letting that person do their job. Okay. Now, if and then the chorus leader defers to the worship leader. So let me say it like this: singer number 2 defers to both the chorus leader and the worship leader. The chorus leader just defers to the worship leader, and the worship leader can do whatever they want. Yep. Yep. So every worship leader is going to be different. We have a talkback button. You can step on it and talk to them without it being in the room. So you can say, okay, you take this chorus, or you can point you do a chorus. Each worship leader is going to be different, and each singer understands that in a different way. So it's kind of just like trial and error, but eventually you kind of do it enough times where you realize what they're saying. Does that answer your question? Okay. The only exception, I want to make sure I say this right. Okay, the only exception to this is if you're in a moment of spontaneous singing. Okay, sing over each other, sing, do all kinds of sing. Don't stop singing. That's the point in that moment. Okay? And then number 8, after the prayer set ends, please put back the music stand and the mic stand and back to its original position. So right now, those are pretty close. I've set up the wire. Some of the wires I don't have a lot of length, and so I've set them up in such a way where the camera that's sitting right here sees all of it. But eventually, sometimes people begin to move them, and eventually they creep over here, and then eventually, sometimes they're hanging, and cords are all over the place. I just want it to kind of go back to just like that, nice and neat and tidy. So that's just a housekeeping announcement. All right, how am I doing for time? Am I there? Just about. Okay. So being a musician, it's the same. It's a lot of the same stuff. Be good. Learn to play on a click. Learn to learn the Nashville number system. Trying to see if there's anything else here. Work together with other instrumentalists. My professor at school always said a good musician looks for a place not to play. So be dynamic and look for places where you don't have to play. Anyways, work together. I want to go over this doorkeeper position. This is something that we're working to develop, okay? So a doorkeeper is someone who can arrive before the prayer meeting begins or come after the prayer meeting is ended and unlock and lock the door. So they're kind of like a maintenance person, all right? Their job is going to be to turn on and off lights, clean up the room and stage area, turn on and off the sound system, set up the computers, set up the live stream, set up projection, and any other task that needs to be done to prepare for the prayer meeting for the next day, okay? So we've talked a lot about music. We've talked a lot about prayer leaders, intercessors. But if those are things that are like, boy, I don't know. This is another way that practically you can help us. Because every day that I come in, I have to spend probably 45 minutes in turning everything on, getting the live stream up, getting the computers, getting all the lights, making sure all the stage power's up, cleaning up from the night before, wrapping up cords. Like, see, someone left their guitar cable just hanging here, and I like to wrap this up. I usually put this down, everything nice and neat, so that the next prayer meeting or the next day of prayer meetings can go forward nice and smoothly. It takes a little bit of turning on the soundboard, making sure all the channels are on, so that if someone were to show up 15 minutes before the prayer meeting began, they'd be able to just go up to their instrument, grab it, and we're good. Because the prayer leader would be here at that point. Everything's set up, and my overall goal as the director is to just show up 15 minutes before everything's set up, all lights are on, heat's on, all that stuff. So we're looking for people. If you're looking to serve, that's serving a prayer meeting. And what would happen is you would actually show up 45 minutes before the prayer meeting began. And the reason why is because remember how we said we want, in Sacred Trust, we wanted you to show up 15 minutes early? So technically, I probably only need you here about half an hour before the prayer meeting begins, but because of that 15 minutes, I'm adding that on, and then you would stay until the first 30 minutes of the prayer meeting had started, or at the end, you would come in at the 15-minute mark and stay a half an hour after the prayer meeting begins, so that those that have been serving all day don't have to stay and clean up as well. If we had someone doing that, that will strengthen prayer as well. And then, of course, you can participate either the first half an hour or the last half an hour of a prayer meeting. So that does that. I'm going to stop right there and don't end recording yet. Any questions? I want to have some Q&A. All right. Tom, can we kill the reverb? I love your questions.
Okay, I have 3.
Ask away.
Okay, first of all, I want you to know, I want to ask, can you send a link? Hello?
13. There you go, you're on.
Okay, can you send a link so we can learn the Nashville number system?
Yes, I have a page with all the keys with all the numbers.
Great.
Yep.
Next thing, for training sessions on projection sound, is that going to be on an individual basis or?
Yes,
Okay.
So as you agree that you can serve in that role, we want to, then I will meet with you and show you how to do it.
Okay, and this is kind of a statement. So if you are a singer or a if you're doing worship with the word, and he was talking about they have a thing where the worship leader can talk back to you. Do
back.
not talk back on your mic, because I did that the first time, and everybody in the room can hear you.
That's true. So the only people that can use so if you get talked to,
I keep a sticker on my stand.
I forgot about that. That's a good one, Sandy. So the only people that can talk are the ones that have the actual talkback box, because if the singers go like, oh, yep, that's going to be in the room. So, come on up. Here, just line up over here so I know you want to ask a question.
You said you were going to have like spontaneous prayer.
Yep.
At the end of worship with the word.
Yes. So both the Devo set now and the worship with the word at the 15-minute mark. I'm sorry, at the 45-minute mark. So with 15 minutes left to go, we are now going to offer a time of rapid fire prayer and then possibly optional prayer. So definitely rapid fire prayer, because we want to add more prayer to our prayer meetings.
My question is, how are you going to transition that?
That's our last session. I'm talking about how we've designed them. So, yep.
I have a question for that same topic.
Yes.
So, like, worship with the word is 6 to 7. So at 6:45, we'd be transitioning into rapid fire
Yes.
or optional prayer. Well, what if there's nobody in the room, or what if there's one other person in the room? So you're the worship leader.
Yes.
There's the
Prayer
prayer
leader,
leader,
yep.
and there's one person in the room.
Yep.
How are we going to do rapid fire?
Just use discernment and definitely pray. So if it's just maybe just pray a little bit more than 3 to 5 seconds and then just end it. That's fine.
What do we pray for during that time?
That we will have that in place by the time that we start doing this.
Okay, because
Yes. So because eventually we're going to be getting rid of the 4 to 5 hour, there's about 5 different topics that are going to get lost in our session. So we're going to take those and we're going to use our rapid fire prayer times to pray over them.
okay. So introduce. If I wasn't doing rapid fire, I would
Yep.
just transition into praying. Like, let's just say it's like nobody in the room, basically, and I'll just transition into a prayer and pray.
Yeah, you would just come up and say, we're going to have time of even if there's no one in the room. We're going to have a rapid time of fire, we're going to have a time of rapid fire prayer for X.
Okay.
And then we just want to invite anyone that wants to be part of that to do so. And then if no one's in the room, then you just pray.
Okay.
And then you can just put the microphone down.
Cool. Thank you.
That's all you got to do.
All right.
Everett's got a question. Oh, boy, you might have a lot of them.
You mentioned something about OnSong.
Yes.
Is that an app?
Yes.
And what does it do and how does it work?
So OnSong is an app that has all of our chord charts in it for all of our songs. So it's an app that you can use to. It has just has all of our songs with the chords on it for musicians and stuff like that.
Okay. Is it a certain one?
Is it a what?
Is it a certain one that you use? I've seen
Oh,
the
okay.
app thing where it's OnSong, then it said OnSong 2023.
Yeah. So all of the iPads that we have over there in the sound booth have the app. Some of them are a little bit different. Some of them are older versions.
Oh, okay.
So, yep.
Okay.
Cool.
So for musicians,
Yes.
I never ever knew the part about I should not be singing during verses, only during chorus. Is that only unless the worship leader signals to you that they want you to come in on a verse, or just assume that you are never singing in the verses of a song? Because I
Yeah.
haven't been doing that for 2.5 years. So I just want to make sure and clarify that.
Yeah.
And for new people coming in, like, you just stay silent if you can't harmonize, or unless
Melody.
the worship leader will signal to you, then you can sing.
I'll say it like this. See, there's some singers that know how to sing like with you, and so I think what you've been doing is fine. Plus, there's when I'm leading worship and you're singing with me, the male and female vocals seem to kind of blend a little bit. But I think the way you got to think about it is are we? Is it is it what like where is it? I'm
Like,
trying to
am
think
I
of words.
matching exactly what you're singing, or am I adding to it? Like that sort of thought?
You might let me say a couple. You might let me sing a couple lines, and then you kind of join in, like on the last 2 lines, to kind of give it some color and stuff like that. I think that's more or less what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But just like singing, as soon as I'm singing this, like singing a verse, someone's like just jumping right in, and it just seems like there's no thought. It's just like that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, hey, let the worship leader kind of give direction towards
Yes.
that. Now, again, if
And that is a notable difference for if you're in here and you're used to being in just worship in church.
Yeah.
Is that I don't start singing right away with the song starting right away.
Right.
You do let it ease in a little bit, and it
Yeah.
maybe feels weird to people in the room, but I do that part
Yes.
of it to just kind of like you
I
sing
think
the
that's more what
first-
I'm talking about.
The first start a little bit, and then maybe on the second time through with a second verse I join in. And that's very different from how church feels
Yeah.
with singers. And so people in the room might just be like, why is that person just sitting there not singing up there?
Yeah, that's okay.
And that's what you're talking about, though.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
just wanted to clarify.
Hold on. Wait to ask your question.
So, as a worship leader,
Yes.
sometimes when I start a song,
Yeah.
I start it wrong.
Yeah.
So, if the person that's singing with me starts with me at the same time,
Yeah.
it's very hard to adjust the song back to on track when the other person's going.
Right.
So a lot of times it's really good to just hold off and allow the worship leader to get locked in
Yeah.
and then come in and join the worship leader, which I do a lot when I sing
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
So when John goes to a chorus, then I join in with him, or if he repeats the verse a second time around, I'll jump in at that point. But I let him establish the song and get it going first. And same with Patrick, let him get the song
Right.
moving and then step in and join in.
But the other thing that you can add to that is what you want to do is you want to think like for this particular song, for this particular moment, is that what I'm supposed to be doing with this song? Because some songs are more corporate, than others. There are some songs that were the verses are more or less designed for like one singer. And so you kind of have to use discernment, like you just have to ask yourself, am I doing this tastefully? Is it blending well? Go ahead. What's your question?
So, piggybacking off of Liz, if there's more than one singer up on the stage,
Yep.
is that when you would kind of back off and only do certain parts? Because so when me, Liz, and Sadie were all singing,
Yep.
I tried to take the higher harmony.
Yep.
And then if I couldn't find a spot, then I really did just stop singing.
Yep.
But like if you only have like just the worship leader and one singer, the more melody better.
Yeah, like on choruses and bridges.
So I guess if you're just the one singer, keep singing so that's not just him. Otherwise, he'll just lead by himself, But like if there's more than one singer in the room, say you have Patrick who can sing phenomenally on the keyboard, then you have the worship leader who's the guitarist, then you have two singers. Well, then not everybody needs to be singing all at once. You can kind of
Right.
like take parts and do,
Right.
Stuff like that. So I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just trying to
I
clarify
think,
for people in the room.
yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it's more of a tasteful thing. Like you just gotta think like a composer. Like think like for us musicians. I know some of the other people are like, I don't even know what they're talking about. For you musicians, think like a CD track. They don't have 4 or 5 singers on this. They don't even have 2. There's just one here, and then the chorus, they come in. You want to think more like that, because it'll give our worship songs a little bit more flavor, a little bit more color. So it's just something to be, and every word, and worship leader might go, no, you start the song, but yeah. So I just put that in there just to consider those things and be thoughtful about it. So, yeah. Any other questions? Those are great questions. Okay. Okay, come up here and ask it so we can get this on the.
When we do worship with the word,
Yep.
the sound person puts the lyrics on the television,
Yeah, the verses.
the verses.
Yep.
Not the verses, but the lyrics to the songs.
Yes.
That you sing. Now, will you pick out the songs ahead of time so that that person will
That's a good
know
question.
which songs to put out?
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to that. I'm hoping to get worship. I didn't put it in there in the notes right now because it's, again, we talked about it earlier. Try and pick songs that most people know that they don't need to actually read off the screen. But eventually, because here's the thing why I back off from it is because I do probably half the sets during the week. That's a lot of work for me to do when to get all those sets in. Now, if I only had two or three, that's different. And most worship leaders only have like 2 or 3 sets to plan and send in the music, like we were doing in the past. But that's why I've kind of backed off until we kind of figure out, you know, a better system to do that. And one of the better systems to do it is to actually do more familiar songs that people know. So, but if we do have a projectionist, you know, do the best you can. So, awesome.